So I'm just a little bit confused. I'm hoping that this video can get out to like Brandon Tatum and um, Steven Crowder and Ben Shapiro, people like that. I'm just a little bit confused as to why this question hasn't been brought up in the grand scheme of things. We now have had the second stimulus bill passed for 2 point some odd trillion dollars, which means that the grand total of money that's been spent on COVID relief has been over $4 trillion. It's a lot of zeros. I'm just curious as to why that has happened, but the American people have gotten a grand total, if you're a single person in this whole thing, $1,200, and then $600, making it $1,800 a person during this whole thing that we've been enduring for the last 9 months, 6 to 9 months, right? Where jobs have been shut down, people have lost their income, couldn't feed or take care of their families, pay their bills, things like that. And we've funneled money into everything else. I'm just curious as to why no one has thought about doing this the easiest way that would have prevented all of it. We have now spent $4 trillion. So if we had spent $4 trillion in the beginning and divided that evenly amongst the 200 million people in this country, that would come out to $20,000 a person. Give $20,000 a person to every single person in this country, and then you would have no businesses out and nobody unemployed, nobody needing money, because each individual person would have gotten $20,000. So if I'm a small business owner, $20,000, sure, it might not be what my company makes, but it pays the mortgage to keep the business open, right? Pays the mortgage, keeps it open. And all of my employees, they would have gotten $20,000 a piece. So their income would have been sustained. And actually, for most people, that's half a year's income, $20,000. People I know, you are making, high 20, 28,000 to 30,000, maybe $40,000 a year. The average, hardworking person, like cops and firefighters and maintenance technicians and stuff like that, like people who work for a living, the blue collar jobs, $40,000 is a pretty good annual income, and you would have gotten half of that, to last you 6 months. $20,000 to pay your rent for 6 months. That would have paid everybody's rent. Nobody would have to worry about getting evicted. The people renting, they would have still got their money, so their business would stay afloat. Small businesses would not shut down at all. Their employees would still continue to be employed. They just wouldn't go to work. So you'd have no hours on your time clock. All those businesses would be out. Now you think about, what about those giant corporations? Well, those giant corporations, very wealthy people, can afford to not work. I mean, look at Congress still getting paid through this whole thing. The only people who never got affected by it still drawing their hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Do you need $100,000 a year to survive? Me and my wife and my daughter, we managed to make it well under $100,000 a year, and we live pretty comfortably. So I'm confused as to how these giant rich people wouldn't be able to make it. They would. They have enough savings, unlike those of us at the bottom of this whole thing, the ones who don't make that much, the ones who do all the work in this country and keep it afloat. We don't make that much, and we make it on far less. We live on far less. $20,000 a piece. $20,000 a piece for the 200 million people in this country. If we were going to go into debt and you really wanted to help people, you would have given $20,000 to each person instead of spending $4 trillion on all these various projects and organizations. These organizations, again, in the same breath, that would have been perfectly fine because every one of their employees would have gotten $20,000. And the person at the very top would have gotten $20,000, and they could have kept their businesses open. Just close the doors, shut it down. During this whole COVID thing, employees would still be paid. Rent would still be paid. Mortgage would still be paid. And then every single business, every single industry would have been fine. When this whole thing was over, we could have opened the doors back up and there would have been no loss. Wouldn't have had suicides, wouldn't have had all these problems of people trying to figure out how to survive in a world where they're told they can't provide for their families. But instead, we funnel all that money into organizations and keeping this industry and that industry open when we could have just given each individual person the money that they needed to take care of themselves. Well more, much more than what they would have actually needed to take care of themselves. $20,000 a piece. You could have gotten $20,000 with your spouse or your significant other or your best friend getting $20,000 as well. But we spent $4 trillion, and all we, the taxpayers who have to pay this back, who have lost our jobs, who've lost loved ones, families, who've seen careers and lives destroyed, lost homes, gone through all the mental struggle, don't know how to make it. All of us going through all of that, us at the very bottom. Like if up here's the top of the screen, right? We make up from here down. In the population, we're the ones that are hurt the most. $20,000 we could have gotten. What did we get? $1,800 a piece. And our country is now $4 trillion more in debt than it was before. That's 4 years worth of our normal budget for the country. I'm just confused. $4 trillion divided by 200 million equals 20,000 apiece. Just think about that.